This is Arise America.
Now back to Rotimi, who is in New York. Let's talk about, the issue with the Ukraine or the United States, 28-point drafts. Now, Rubio says the peace plan is authorized by the United States. If that's true, why does the draft look so much like Russia's long-standing demands, and what does that say about U.S. leverage?
Well, I think that's the same question everybody's asking, the United States 28-point plan. Like, why does it look like a semblance of what Russia is demanding? Because that is more like you're just putting everything on the plate for Russia and nothing on the plate for Ukraine. Ukraine, on the other hand, is looking at the proposal like this was pre-proposed. And one of the things that actually stand out for Ukraine is the fact that they were not included when this is being drafted. And they were kind of like, okay, so you are doing this on behalf of us, but it's not in any way in our favor. And that's the reason why Ukraine is a little bit drawn back and they're reluctant to actually take this proposal. And when you look at the 28-point leaked proposal, which has been in the press for a long, perhaps in the last 24 hours, you want to say that how possible it is for a sovereign nation to actually cut down on its military forces, which is part of the proposal that Ukraine should cut down from 880,000 military force to 600,000, which would make them weak should Russia change its mind. And that is really very difficult for Ukraine to actually achieve because Ukraine in itself feel like they need more people to defend their own country. Again, when you look at the proposal, you have so many other, things as well, like ceding part of Ukraine, the Donbas region, Luhansk. These are really productive areas for Ukraine, and ceding it in a demilitarized zone fashion to Russia is quite unattainable. But the problem now is
The
Ukraine
subcommittee on Africa
has
will come to order, and
20,
good
they
morning
have
to all of
between
you.
now and
I do ask unanimous
Thursday
consent
to
that the
accept the
Representative
proposal.
James from
If they do
Michigan,
not accept the
Representative
proposal,
Stutzman from
U.S.
Indiana, and
officials
Representative
actually
Moore from
say
West
they're going
Virginia
to
be
turn their
allowed to
backs
sit
on
on the
them
dais
and
and
make it very
participate in
difficult for
today's
Ukraine
hearing.
to actually go on
Without
in
objection,
this war.
so ordered.
Here's the thing about it as
I
well.
yield myself,
Capitol Hill lawmakers are calling the proposal a Russian wish list. So how credible is that criticism, and what political fallout could it have for the administration's broader foreign policy agenda?
Well, I
Hearing
mean, like,
focused
just as I said
exclusively on
before, like,
with scores of the
this
hearing
looks
focused
pretty much like it's a way
human
they
rights
draft this
on
to
Africa.
weaken
I've led
Ukraine.
3 trips,
When you
human rights
saw the
trips to
proposal
Nigeria.
that they want Ukraine to
I want
sign
to
in its
thank our distinguished
constitution
witnesses for
that
being
it
here
won't
today
join NATO.
to bring
And
light
that
and
NATO is
scrutiny
also
to this
committed
unfolding
to
religious
not allowing Ukraine
catastrophe
to
and
join
to proper
in the
ways to
future.
mitigate and to end the
Which
violence
also
and the hate.
brings us back to
Nigeria
security
is ground
guarantees
zero,
for
the
Ukraine.
focal point of the most
How
brutal and
possible it
murderous
is
anti-Christian
Ukraine doesn't
persecution in the
trust
world
Russia
today.
to actually
Moderate
stick to
Muslims who
this
speak out against the
proposal,
radical
and
Islamists
that's the
or
more
refuse
reason
to
why they're
conform with
kicking
the serial
against it.
killers are
When you look at
murdered as well.
all the
I applaud
points, all the
President
bullet
Trump's
points in
recent
there, it's
decisive
almost
action
like
to
80
redesignate
to
Nigeria
20%
as
in
a
favor
country
of
of
Russia.
particular concern
So in
for
that
engaging in and
stand, European
tolerating severe
Union are
violations of
looking at
religious freedom.
it from a different
One of our
angle and say,
witnesses today,
if this is
Bishop
what you're
Wilfred
putting
Anagbe
forward,
from the Diocese of
they don't
McCurdy,
think that peace is going to
testified
be
before our
attainable
subcommittee
in the
last
nearest
March.
future.
We're talking about the U.S. envoy. They're meeting, the Ukraine and European counterparts are meeting in Geneva. So while a Thanksgiving deadline is looming, is a 3-week timeline realistic for a negotiation that involves ceding territory and constitutional changes? Plus, if Kyiv rejects the deadline, does the U.S. have a fallback strategy, or is it essentially walking away from the talks and risking the collapse of the diplomatic process?
Well, I think I'm going to start from that. The U.S. has already said that deadline Thursday before Thanksgiving is what is given to Ukraine to accept the 28-point proposal. If they refuse to take that, then the U.S. is going to walk away and allow Ukraine to go about the war, which it's obvious that they will not be able to win. On the other hand, we don't know what Ukraine has as a backup plan in this. It's looking pretty much obvious that Ukraine is not going to accept the almost 80% of the proposal because it doesn't in any way favor Ukraine. Ukraine reiterated that they want peace with Russia, but there must be some sort of preconditions and security guarantees, which is not part of the 28-point proposal. So how do Ukraine go about it? Ukraine is already having the support of the European Union, and that's why they are part of the meeting. The most disappointing thing about this meeting is the fact that when the United States was drafting this proposal, some of these actors weren't there. Nor were Russia delegates, but was part of it. A Ukrainian delegation was not also part of it. The European Union were also not, aware that the U.S. is putting up this 28-point plan to achieve peace. So they are coming to the table for the first time to kind of examine what this 28-point proposal looks like. And it's looking pretty much like it's not something that we're expecting, as both parties actually want peace.
We're working with limited time now, so let me just swing back again to Washington. Rubio's claim that the plan is a U.S.-authored, plan contradicts earlier statements from senior officials. What does this inconsistency reveal about internal coordination with State Department? And also, I know that von der Leyen has said that, they would not allow, it's against the constitution of Ukraine to also cede territory. So she's standing her grounds as a president and saying that is not going to happen. But European allies have said the plan needs additional work. Which specific provisions, are they most opposed to? And how likely are they to push for amendments before any final agreement?
I think right now the European Union is will be asking for more time from the White House to look into the plan and see how they can trim it down, maybe from 28 to 10, maybe from 28 to 20, and rejig that document to make sure that there's some sort of security guarantees for Ukraine. Ukraine is not going to have, its way all the time. They know that they would definitely compromise at one point in time, but ceding territories and cutting down on its military forces is not something that's looking pretty much like they are going to accept. As a sovereign nation, they can have as much military personnel as they want, but they don't want the United States to actually dictate to them how much military personnel that they can have. And also ceding territories is even part of it. And not joining NATO is also one of the things. So this 3 points is the troubling part of this proposal that Ukraine is looking forward to seeing how they can, achieve some of these things and rejigging it, because that is more like, a red line for Ukraine. But with the deadline that's been put forward by the United States to Ukraine between now and Thursday for them to accept this proposal, or the U.S. is going to withdraw completely, is actually unrealistic. So there's going to be a lot of talks between now and Thursday to appeal to the United States and see how they can extend this deadline so that it can look into this document once again and see how this can be reorganized and probably, rejigged in a way that it will favor both sides.
Right. Thank you so much, Rotimi Kade, for making out time to join us to discuss the top story today, talking about the meeting that's still ongoing in Geneva, the United States draft plan, and also Ukraine and Russia in the mix. Appreciate you for the time.
This is Arise America.